The first half of November is being one of the mildest on records in many parts of the northern plains, upper Midwest, and southern Canada. One day last week it was 66 in Winnipeg, it was 70 in Calgary, but the first cold air of the season seems about ready to strike. Now, by cold, how cold do I mean? Well, I'll define that here coming up in just a minute. The arrival of the cold air will probably kick off some type of snowstorm, a potential snowstorm this week across some part of the northern plains, upper Midwest region. Can't say exactly where. In fact, I really can't say at all where it will be, but it'll be a narrow swath of potentially fairly heavy snow. And this all sums up to be for the first time, the start of the winter season. The jet stream, which has been way up north for so much of the fall season, and in particular the last couple of weeks, at times going way up into central Canada, it's finally beginning to drop southward just a little bit. So all this consistently warm weather that we've had across the northern plains beginning to drop. Pacific Northwest has been wet. That won't change. Big low pressure, which has been parked out in the North Pacific, a piece of that is going to break off and move inland, and that will really begin to shake things up. So early this week, we'll see things cooling off slightly. Then as the low moves into the Rockies, the rain gets reinforced in the Pacific Northwest, and at some point that will then start to move out into the plain states. And as it does so, cold weather will begin to build southward. Now, this is that cold weather which I mentioned last week as coming across from eastern Siberia, but it's not going to be all of that. It's not going to be 40 below weather. It's just going to be cold, the first below freezing weather in our region that we've seen. Meanwhile, the low pressure system, wherever it moves out, will have a pretty good chance to produce a swath of snow. Could be the Dakotas, western or eastern, could be Iowa, Nebraska, could be even further south. It really depends on the track of the low, and that's, as always, tricky to forecast. But it will likely bring that cold air southward, and there will be many of these areas in dark blue that will have sub-freezing highs, I think, by late this week. And then next week, which is Thanksgiving week, the cold air may briefly retreat before it then comes back again later on in the week. So what does this mean for December? Well, this is an early guess. I'll try to refine this as we go through the next few weeks, but I do expect December to be a little colder than average. Now, it may not all be that way. We'll have a little cold early. Then I think we'll go back to kind of average through the mid part of December, while the southwest stays quite mild. Cold weather, I think, may come back again toward late December. There's some speculation in there, and that's, at this point, not something you would bank on. But that's the way it looks right now. So here's what we're talking about. Early November weather, of course, has been very mild. It will be turning colder in the next couple of weeks. Finally, winter getting a start across the northern plains and upper Midwest.